I arrived at my farm after a long absence, but when I looked at my gate, I was speechless. A cluster of unfamiliar cars parked haphazardly along my driveway. Frowning, I marched over, only to find a bright orange sign posted on my fence. HOA designated parking area. Unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense. And standing there, arms crossed and grinning smugly, was none other than Karen, the self-important HOA president. What the hell is this, Karen?
Oh, haven't you heard? The HOA voted to designate this area as a community parking lot. Your land was underutilized, so we thought we'd make it more useful for the neighborhood.
I nearly laughed. She had no idea who she was messing with. Karen's reign of terror had been escalating for months. Ever since she took the position of HOA president, she had implemented rule after rule, each more absurd than the last. What had once been a peaceful suburban neighborhood had become a land of constant scrutiny and petty grievances. First, she banned pickup trucks because they were deemed too rural-looking. This didn't just affect farmers or ranchers, it meant contractors, landscapers, and even delivery trucks had to park miles away, leaving homeowners to deal with the inconvenience of hauling equipment on foot. The absurdity of this rule hit especially hard when she forced workers to park in the designated visitor parking areas, which were often filled by her HOA-approved sedans. Next came her attack on livestock. Claiming certain breeds of animals were unfit for a suburban environment, she began demanding that families remove their pets and farm animals. One particularly tragic case was that of the Johnsons, who were forced to rehome their beloved goats simply because they didn't fit into her ideal neighborhood. But that was only the beginning. Karen soon turned her attention to something that many didn't even think could be controlled: fences. She insisted that all property fences be painted a specific shade of beige. No exceptions. It didn't matter if the fence was sturdy or aesthetically pleasing in its own right. If it wasn't the exact shade of beige, you'd get a warning. I still remember the moment I received my warning because my wooden fence was too rustic. How could a simple wooden fence be a crime? But in Karen's world, apparently, everything was a crime. She even went so far as to ban outdoor grills, but only if they weren't HOA-approved models. The best part? The approved grills were sold by none other than her cousin, giving her a sweet little side business at the expense of every homeowner's freedom. Setting curfews for backyard lights was another gem in her ever-growing list of absurdities. She claimed that lights disrupted the peaceful ambiance of the neighborhood, and if you didn't turn them off by 10 p.m. sharp, you would face a fine. The worst part was that no one was ever really sure if Karen was watching from her window or if she just had a squad of HOA goons lurking in the shadows to catch anyone breaking her rules. And now, after all of these ridiculous regulations, she had the audacity to claim my land as her personal parking lot. The nerve! I was fed up. She had pushed me and the rest of the neighborhood too far, and this was the last straw. That evening, as I sorted through my mail, I found an official-looking letter with the HOA's seal stamped across it. The letter stated, "Due to your refusal to comply with the new parking designation, fines will be imposed. Failure to adhere to HOA regulations may result in legal action." Legal action? Over my own land? I couldn't believe it. Karen was trying to bully me into submission by threatening me with her overbearing rules. But what she didn't realize was that she had just picked the wrong fight. I clenched my jaw, the anger bubbling up inside me. Karen thought she could just walk all over me like she had with everyone else. Little did she know, I had a few tricks up my sleeve that would make her think twice before crossing me again. The next morning, they arrived like conquerors. HOA members strutted onto my property as if they owned the place, barking orders and waving their clipboards, directing cars onto my fields without a second thought. Tires dug into the soil, leaving deep ruts in the once pristine earth, while Karen stood off to the side, arms crossed, watching with a satisfied smirk. But there was one thing they didn't know. My land was connected to the HOA's main power grid. With a single flick of a switch, I shut it all down. The entire neighborhood went dark. For a moment, there was silence. Then, Panic. Phones went dead. Wi-Fi disappeared. Smart homes became nothing more than expensive boxes. Garage doors jammed, leaving cars trapped inside. Alarm systems blared, their sirens howling into the night. Confused residents stumbled out onto their porches, voices rising in frustration, demanding answers. And then came Karen. She stormed toward me, her face red with fury, gripping her ever-present pink HOA folder like it was some holy decree.
What did you do?
I leaned casually against my fence, watching her flounder. "Oh, haven't you heard?" I mimicked her condescending tone. "The property owner has designated this power supply for private use. Your community electricity was underutilized, so I thought I'd make it more useful for myself." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air.
What did you do?
I raised an eyebrow. "The HOA will what? Take me to court? Please do. I'd love to hear you explain to a judge why you think you have the right to steal my land." And, as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. A week later, we found ourselves in court. Karen sat stiffly at the plaintiff's table, flanked by her increasingly panicked HOA board. Her usual smugness was gone, replaced by a nervous, forced composure as she clutched her ever-present pink folder like a life raft. Meanwhile, I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, completely at ease. My lawyer, who, by the way, specialized in property law, stood confidently before the judge, outlining the sheer absurdity of Karen's actions. She had illegally designated private property as a public space. She had attempted to fine a non-HOA member. And worst of all, she had been charging parking fees to the very residents she had forced to use my land. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as the details unfolded. The judge, a stern-looking man with a tired expression, rubbed his temples before turning to Karen.
"Mrs. Peterson, do you have anything to say for yourself?"
Karen's knuckles whitened as she gripped her folder tighter. She flipped through the pages as if searching for a loophole, an escape, any excuse to justify her overreach.
I was just enforcing community standards. We were improving the neighborhood.
The judge exhaled slowly, his patience wearing thin.
"The only thing you were improving was your own pocket."
He leveled her with a sharp gaze.
"This HOA has grossly overstepped its authority. Effective immediately, all fines and parking fees are voided. The defendant is awarded damages for trespassing and harassment."
He paused, then smirked.
"And as for the HOA, you are now under investigation for financial misconduct."
A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. The HOA board members exchanged wide-eyed glances, realizing the gravity of the situation. Karen's face went pale.
You can't do this. The HOA will...
She blurted, half standing. I rose from my seat, straightening my jacket with a slow, deliberate movement. "Oh, but we can." I met her panicked gaze head-on. "And as of today, I am officially cutting the HOA's access to my power grid. Good luck finding another source." Karen opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out.